everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the World of Wrestling podcast. I'm Slim. Once again, Carl not here, but we'll just keep going. This week's episode is a massive episode, so we'll start straight away with NJPW Dominion. The first match of Dominion is Taguchi, Nagata, and Kojima, and they beat Gabriel Kidd and Great Bash Heel, which is Honma and Maccabi. Then we got LIJ, which was made up of Bushi, Sanada, and Hiromu Takahashi, defeating Yota Tsuji and Chaos's Toru Yano and Tomohiro Ishii. After that is Suzuki-gun, and that's made up of Dookie, Kanemaru, and El Desperado, defeating Uemura, Master Wato, and Tenzin. Then we have Bullet Club's Taiji Ishimori and Yujiro Takahashi, defeating Chaos's Kazuchika Okada and Hiroki Goto. We then got the Never Openweight Championship match between Shingo Takagi, who defeated Sho to retain. Then we have the IWGP Tag Team Championship match, where Dangerous Tekkers, which is Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr., defeated Golden Star Ace, which is Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kota Ibushi, to win the IWGP Tag Team Championships. And in the main event, it's for the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championships, Evil defeated Tetsuya Naito to win both titles. After that, he joined Bullet Club. But we will now move on to Raw. And this week's Raw starts with the VIP Lounge, and MVP's guest is Dolph Ziggler. We take a look at what happened last week with Slater while Ziggler gets in the ring. MVP says that Ziggler is smart because he hasn't revealed the stipulation. Ziggler says he knows how to make Drew go back to the old Drew, the Drew who got fired. He also says that without him, Drew is nothing. MVP thanks Ziggler on behalf of Drew, and Drew came out when Ziggler says he'll take the title from him. Drew says that he isn't going to claim more MVP like normal. Instead, he says that Ziggler uses people. Drew also says that at Extreme Rules he'll torture Ziggler, and whatever happens is on Ziggler. Then Drew punches Ziggler and fakes out MVP. Backstage interview with Angel Garza, Andrade, and Zelina Vega, and Vega says that it's a false narrative that her clients can't get on the same page. Vega says that no man can match up to Garza or Andrade, and all the women are beneath her. Angel says that they can beat the Raiders, and Andrade says that he has Angel's back and Angel has his. Raiders show up and say that they will run through Garza and Andrade. Ivar then takes Garza's rose and gives it to Charlie Caruso. Next is Viking Raiders vs Andrade and Angel Garza with Zelina Vega in an elimination match. Eric goes out first after the Hammerlock DDT by Andrade, who also gets the 3 count. Andrade goes out after a spinning leg lariat by Ivar, who obviously gets the pin. And then Andrade saves Garza after Ivar hits the spinning leg lariat on Garza. And he saves him by putting his leg on the ropes. It was a good match. Garza and Andrade won by pinfall after Garza powerbombs Ivar when he went to sit on him for the 3 count. Backstage interview with Ruby Riott, and the Iconics show up. They say that they've beaten Riott over the past 2 weeks, and tonight their tag team match will be a handicap match because Ruby has no friends. Which then Bianca Belair showed up and says that she's Ruby's tag team partner. If you can hear that, that's rain, because it's pissing down. Then we got Iconics versus Ruby Riott and Bianca Belair. I don't know why I was reading it. Iconics and Ruby Riott versus Bianca Belair. But anyway, it was a good match. Belair and Riott won by pinfall after Belair hits the KOD on Billy for the 3 count. Backstage, Truth is walking around, comes up to Cedric and Cedric and Ricochet, not Cedric and Alexander, Cedric and Ricochet, and congratulates Ricochet for getting MVP of Monday Night Raw. Ricochet says that he's fighting Lashley with MVP on Monday Night Raw, which then that clicks for Truth. Then he asks then he and Cedric ask Truth how he's preparing to face Orton tonight, and Truth says, "Nah, I got challenged by Ric Flair, not Randy Orton." Cedric and Ricochet then explain that he was challenged by Flair on Orton's behalf, and Truth then, that clicks and he goes, "Oh, I gotta go." He walks up to Tozawa and asks him to train him to be a black belt in 10-minute stops. Tozawa says no, tries to win the 24/7 title, but doesn't. Truth, Cedric, and Ricochet stand off against Tozawa and his ninjas before Truth tells Tozawa to go to the ring now. Then we get Truth defending his 24/7 title against Akira Tozawa. Before the match, Truth says he came out by himself, and Tozawa came out with 3 ninjas. And then Baszler comes down, takes out all of Tozawa's ninjas. Tozawa leaves. Truth chucks Baszler the mic before leaving. Baszler's on the mic next, and she says that she's here to give all of the women's division a reality check. Then we see what happened last week between Rollins and Ray. Murphy and Rollins are backstage. Rollins asks what's troubling him. Murphy asks... he asks that an eye for an eye doesn't actually mean you have to blind each other. And Rollins says nothing happens without a sacrifice, and he has a message to deliver. Rollins is out next to deliver his message. He says that he knows what an eye for an eye means, so he thought Ray meant it was a metaphor for revenge, because that's what it means. But Ray meant it literally. Rollins says that he never meant to harm Ray, but he was forced to by the WWE Universe because they wanted him to lead, and that's what he is doing. Rollins also says that at Extreme Rules he will blind Ray. Kevin Owens interrupts and says that he didn't expect Ray to choose an eye for an eye match. He expected a last man standing or a steel cage, something like that. But not an eye for an eye. Owens also says that Rollins is a scumbag because Rollins somehow managed to make Ray want to gouge Rollins' eye out. Owens then pulls out an eye patch that he got for Rollins. Rollins says that Owens won't make it to their match tonight and calls Murphy out, but Black comes out and he and Murphy brawl. Then we get Murphy with Rollins versus Black with Owens. It was a good match. Black wins by DQ when Rollins pulls Black out of the ring after he hits the Black Mass on Murphy. Post-match, Rollins gets cornered when Ray and Dominic come out. We then get Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens with Aleister Black. No Murphy. Don't know, he might have been in Rollins' corner, but never saw him. Kevin Owens also has Ray and Dominic out as well. During the match, Rollins tries to escape, but Owens stops him. It was a pretty good match. Owens win by pinfall after a stunner. Then he hit that stunner because Ray, Dominic and Black distracted Rollins by getting on the apron one after the other. But all one at a time, but just one after the other. And then they all got up there at the same time, which is when Owens then hit the stunner. Post-match, Ray says that Rollins crossed every line there is to cross, so now it's his turn. So Rollins will walk into their match at Extreme Rules with 2 eyes, but he'll only walk out with 1. Backstage, Ric Flair's on his phone when Big Show walks up and says that they need to talk. Ric says that he thinks Show is the best big man in wrestling, but he is also choosing a fight that he can't win. Rick also says that Orton's on top of the wrestling business now. Show says that Orton may be the best WWE has ever seen, but he asks Rick if he's ready to sacrifice his friendships to allow Orton to be the Legend Killer. We then look at how Orton earned the moniker of Legend Killer. Orton is backstage and he says that he had a handful of friends that he would laugh and tell stories with up and down the road. He says that he knows what's best for Edge, so he put him on the shelf and sent him home. Christian made the mistake of accepting one more match, and Big Show has sacrificed their friendship to avenge some broken skulls. And Ric Flair, well, it would be a shame if he did something to end their friendship. However, his opponent tonight is R-Truth. Orton says that he has a lot of respect for Truth, but he'll just become another stepping stone for the Legend Killer. Flair walks up and says that it's time to go, and Orton says he'll be right behind him and just stares at Flair. Randy Orton with Ric Flair vs R-Truth is next. Flair comes out and says that he wants to congratulate Truth on such a great career, and he wants Truth to know that Orton loves Truth, same as Flair does, so he isn't going to punt him, just hit the RKO. Squash match for Orton. Truth still has his belt and jacket on. Orton won by pinfall after hitting the RKO. Post-match, Orton sets up for the punt, but Big Show comes out. Orton tells Show that he wasn't going to punt Truth because this punt has Big Show's name on it. Orton then challenges Show to an unsanctioned match next week. Lashley and MVP show up to Ricochet and Cedric says he's not joining. Lashley and MVP are then interviewed, and he says that he will beat Cruz at Extreme Rules. Lashley says he'll beat Ricochet tonight. McIntyre is then interviewed, and he says that Ziggler can pick any stipulation he wants before being attacked by Ziggler. Next is Lashley with MVP versus Ricochet with Cedric Alexander. During Ricochet's entrance, we see what happens last week between the four. It was a good match. Lashley wins by submission after locking in the full Nelson. Post-match, Cedric gets in the ring to get Ricochet out of the full Nelson, but can't, and hits a neuralizer on MVP and gets locked in the full Nelson himself. We then run down the Extreme Rules card. Backstage, interview with Big Show, and Show says that he accepts Orton challenge. And it's the main event now, and it's Bayley and Sasha defending their Women's Tag Team Championships against the Kabuki Warriors. Before the match, Bayley and Sasha play their tribute video from SmackDown, and before the bell, Bayley and Banks jump the Kabuki Warriors. Pretty good match. Bayley and Banks retain by submission when Sasha locks in the Banks statement on Kairi Sane. Moving on to AEW Dark, and this week's Dark has 7 matches. The first match of the night is Roche Chanel. Pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. It's Roche Chanel, I guess. That's how you pronounce it. And Diamante versus the Nightmare Sisters, which is Brandy Rhodes and Allie, with Dustin Rhodes. Good match. Nightmare Sisters win by pinfall after Brandy spears Roche and gets the 3. Next match is Robert Anthony vs Ricky Starks. Good match. Starks win by pinfall after hitting a butterfly running facebuster. That's how I describe it. He butterflied him and then got him up on his shoulders like the Dominator sort of thing. And it's pretty much a Dominator, but he's butterflied him and just runs and puts him down. But yeah, so that's how Ricky Starks won that match. We then get a video package for Sean Spears where he talks about the legacy of the loaded glove. Then we get Sean Dean, Will Hobbs and Joe Alonzo versus the Dark Order. And that is made up of 3, which I'm pretty sure is John Silver, 4, which is Alex Reynolds, and 5, which I know is Alan Angels. And they're with Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and 10, who are on the ramp. Pretty good match. Dark Order wins by pinfall after hitting the wing snapper from Angels and the flipping DDT destroyer by Reynolds and Silver on Alonzo. Silver got the 3 count. After that is Michael Nakazawa vs Marco Stunt. Good match. Stunt wins by pinfall after he gets Nakazawa to put his own G-string on his own face, then pins him with a roll-up for the 3. Post-match we see Nakazawa go up to Alex Jabali again, like he did last week. We then have Serpentico and Luther versus Brady Pierce and Pineapple Pete. Good match. Serpentico and Luther won by pinfall after a Spinebuster Meteora combo on Pierce. Luther picked up the 3 count. It is then Jurassic Express, made up of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, versus Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler with Lever Bates. During the match, Lever hits a Hurricanrana on Jungle Boy. Jurassic Express win by pinfall after hitting the extinction level event on Avalon. Luchasaurus got the 3 count. Main event time, and it's for the FTW Championship, and it's between the champ Brian Cage and Brian Pillman Jr. Pretty much a squash match for Cage, who wins by pinfall with the drill claw. Post-match, Cage repeatedly hits a powerbomb on Pillman, then an F5 before saying he'll beat Moxley on Dynamite. Speaking of, here we go with AEW Dynamite. This week's Dynamite is Fight for the Fallen, and Tony Schiavone is not on commentary this week because his COVID test results were slow. Fight for the Fallen starts with Cody with Arn Anderson defending the TNT Championship against Sonny Kiss. Kiss enters with some of the Jacksonville Jaguars cheerleaders. Pretty good match. Cody won by pinfall after hitting Crossroads. Cody was also very heelish and angry during the match. But post-match, Cody and Sonny hug. Cody raises Sonny's hand. Commentary then runs down tonight's card. And we then get FTR versus the Lucha Brothers. Oh boy, this is so good. Butcher and Blade drives Lucha Brothers in FTR's truck. Insane match. It was just really, really good. FTR win by pinfall after Dax takes Phoenix's mask off, so he can use a small package to pick up the 3. Post-match, Young Bucks attack Butcher and Blade and take FTR's keys from Butcher so they can have their truck back. Omega comes out to give FTR some beer, but they pour it over his head instead. This match was awesome. Watch this week's Dynamite just so you can see how good this match was. Inner Circle are out next, except for Sammy Guevara, because Jericho has something to say. Jericho says that he had one of his best matches last week, and not only beat Orange, but he also won the ratings war. Jericho says that last week Orange looked like a star. He says that he won't give Orange a rematch. Orange then comes out. Jericho says he won't give him a rematch, then tells him to get the hell out of his arena, and calls Orange a piece of shit. Orange then gives a thumbs down, which drops a lot of squeezed oranges and orange juice from the ceiling onto the Inner Circle. Jericho says that his jacket costs $7,000 and asks for a towel, and he gets one with Orange Cassidy's face on the towel. When he realises it, the rest of the Inner Circle has to hold him back. During that segment, which was very, very funny, Ortiz is swimming around in the orange juice because he can't get up. Backstage interview with Jurassic Express. That's what I was trying to say. They say that what happened with the Inner Circle was funny, and Luchasaurus says that after 65 million years, he gets to wrestle the Elite. He also has a birth certificate that he put up on Twitter, showing that he is 65 million years old. Jericho joins commentary to replace Taz and says that there will be a rematch with Orange Cassidy. Next is Jurassic Express versus the Elite. During the match, it is shown that Hangman is watching from a bar where he is mixing his own drinks. FTR joins him. It was a great match. The Elite won by pinfall after Omega hit Marco's stump with the one-winged angel for the 3 count. Post-match, Omega rains down rights to Marco's head, which is sort of showing that he's becoming more like he was when he was the cleaner. And he tries to justify those right hands by saying it was a part of the match. And the Bucks are there going, no, it was after the bell. So, yeah. Backstage interview with Hikaru Shida next, who says that she's ready to defend her title against Nyla Rose, but if anyone else wants a shot, then she's waiting for the challenge. Video package with Moxley where he talks about his match later. Then we get the Nightmare Sisters versus an unannounced team, who is revealed to be Kenzie Page and MJ Jenkins. MJ was released by WWE when they did their mass release 3 months ago. Squash match for the Nightmare Sisters, who win by pinfall after Ali hits a reverse DDT elbow drop combo on MJ Jenkins for the 3. Nyla Rose is out next for an in-ring interview with Dasha to announce who is her manager. And that is revealed to be Vicky Guerrero. However, prior to Nyla's entrance, AEW accidentally started playing Vicky's entrance music, so it sort of spoiled it. It was just split second, not split second, but it was probably 2 seconds worth of her entrance song, which sort of starts off by sounding like she's saying, "Excuse me." So I sort of just went, I think that's Vicky, and then it was, and you can definitely tell that they hit the wrong song. But Vicky Guerrero comes out and says that Nyla will take the entire locker room's opportunities. We then run down next week's card, and then it's the main event, and it's Jon Moxley defending the AEW Championship against the FTW Champion Brian Cage with Taz. Before Mox comes out, Taz says Mox talks a lot of shit and it isn't true. And now it's time for Cage to take Mox's title. The match starts before the bell. So by that I mean Cage attacks Mox. Oh, I think Cage attacks Mox. I didn't write it down. But anyway, they start fighting and they just ring the bell. During the match, Cage bends a guardrail with Mox's body. Mox gets suplexed through a steel chair. Pretty good match. Mox wins after Taz throws in the towel. After Mox locks in the Fujiwara armbar, it was sort of modified. And was locked in on Cage's surgically repaired arm. Post-match, Cage attacks Moxley. Darby Allin returns and attacks Cage. Show ends with Mox and Darby standing tall, and Taz and some referees and some other personnel have to hold Cage back from going to the ring again. Moving on to NXT, and NXT starts with a recap of Keith Lee winning the NXT and retaining the North American title last week. Followed by a bunch of superstars congratulating him and saying that they will take the title away from him, depending on if you're a heel or face in that promo. Keith is out to kick the show off. Keith gets the ring announcer to announce him a second time. Keith then says that times have been tough recently, but with tough times it has allowed him to become not only the North American champion, but also the NXT champion. Keith Lee says that he couldn't do it alone and goes through who has helped him before asking Dominik Dijakovic to come out so they can talk. Dijakovic comes out and congratulates Lee, and Lee says that the competition between the two is what allowed him to get the opportunities, and so he talked to Regal and they agreed that maybe Dijakovic gets the first shot at the belts. Dijakovic accepts and asks when. Lee says tonight. Dijakovic says eventually yes to doing it tonight. Next is Damian Priest versus Cameron Grimes. Pretty good match. Priest won by pinfall after hitting the Reckoning from the second rope on Grimes to get the 3 count. And by second rope I mean he was draped across the second rope and Priest hit the Reckoning. Post-match, Priest says he wants to see who walks out as champs between Lee and Dijakovic. We then get another Thatcher training session. Then it's Shotzi Blackheart versus Indy Hartwell. During the match, Robert Stone hobbles down and distracts the ref to allow Aaliyah to take Shotzi off the top rope. Indy won by pinfall after a big boot to get the 3 count. Backstage interview with Tegan Knox, who says that she will beat Io to become the next NXT Women's Champion. Video package for Legado del Fantasma next, where they toast to beating Maverick and Breezango last week. Then they say they are going to tear NXT down so they can build their empire. We then get a recap of Keith Lee winning last week to capture the NXT and retain the North American title. Now it's Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic for the NXT and North American Championships. Really good match. Lee won by pinfall after hitting Big Bang Catastrophe. Post-match, Lee and Dijakovic hug. Then Scarlett comes down and puts the Broken Hourglass on the ring apron before leaving. And we're only halfway through the show. I thought that this would be the main event, but it wasn't. Backstage interview with Dominik Dijakovic, who says Lee is on a whole nother level and Karrion Kross isn't on that level, before Kross shows up and he and Dijakovic brawl, which Kross easily wins. Next is Timothy Thatcher versus Denzel Dejournette, pretty much a squash match for Thatcher, who wins by submission with a single leg Boston Crab. Post-match, Thatcher doesn't let go until Oney Lorcan runs down and attacks Thatcher. Robert Stone apologises to Killian Dane, and Aaliyah runs in and shows a picture to Stone that Dexter Lumis drew. Dane grabs the picture, then he grabs Stone and says that if he wants to make it up to him, then get him a match with Dexter Lumis next week. Oh, he says right now, but for next week. Main event time, and it's Tegan Knox versus Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship. Before the introduction's finished, they start fighting. Really good match. Io wins by pinfall after hitting the Asai moonsault. Post-match, Dakota Kai hits a big boot on Io to close the show, which came out of nowhere. We'll move on to NXT UK, and this week's NXT UK has NXT UK superstars looking back at their greatest matches. Move on to SmackDown, and SmackDown this week starts with Styles saying that he'll defend his Intercontinental title against Matt Riddle tonight. Riddle then says he'll win. Daniel Bryan says that Riddle will win. Alexa Bliss then says that she has a special guest on a moment of bliss, and she won't say who. Miz and Morrison then talk about Morrison fighting Braun. Morrison said he's terrified to fight Braun, but he once beat Jean-Claude Van Damme on a boat. Braun says that he hopes Bray watches the show and sees him destroy Morrison. Cesaro and Nakamura say that Cesaro will beat Big E tonight to choose a stipulation at Extreme Rules, which is either a cage match or a tables match. New Day then say that Big E will win that match before Big E starts their entrance. So then we get Cesaro with Nakamura versus Big E with Kofi. Good match. Cesaro won after Nakamura kicked Big E behind the ref's back and Cesaro hit the neutralizer for the 3. Post-match, Cesaro and Nakamura went to use a table, but Kofi takes control, and as they went to put Cesaro through the table, Shinsuke pulled him off and they ran away. Backstage interview with Corbin next, and he says that Styles will win quickly. Cesaro and Nakamura say that the stipulation for their match at Extreme Rules is a tables match, because obviously. A Moment of Bliss is next. Alexa Bliss and Nikki talk about the women's evolution. Then Bliss says that she's clairvoyant. Nikki thought that she was talking about somebody called Claire. But Bliss carries on and says that Lakers will win the NBA championship, which they won't because Pistons will, because Pistons are the best, even though I don't think they're in it, but they're still going to win. She says that Riddle will beat Styles and Braun will beat Bray. Bliss then starts talking about her guest, and Nikki thinks it's her, but it's not. Bayley and Sasha then come out and they say at Extreme Rules Nikki will lose. Bayley also says that they built the women's evolution. Bayley then says that not only will she beat Nikki, but Sasha will also beat Asuka at Extreme Rules. Bliss then says that she didn't get to finish talking about her guest, and Asuka comes out. Sasha and Bayley then go after Bliss and Cross. Bliss then makes a match, and the match is Cross and Asuka versus Bayley and Sasha. I worded it wrong there. And what I should have also said was that Asuka ran off Bayley and Banks. But, yeah, and then Bliss made the match. Right. Anyway, moving on. Before we actually move on properly, during the show, people weigh in on the Riddle Styles match for later tonight. We then get Bayley and Sasha versus Asuka and Nikki Cross with Alexa Bliss. It was a good match. Bayley and Banks win by pinfall when Bayley stacks Cross up and puts her feet on the ropes for the 3 count. And this time, she was close enough to the damn ropes that it actually worked properly. Every other time she's tried to do it, she's been 10 miles away and can only just get her feet on the ropes. This time, she actually did it properly. I think it's like the 5th or 6th time she's tried it, but she finally got it right. Let's hope that continues. It won't, but let's hope so. Backstage, Miz tries to tell Morrison that Braun isn't scary. New Firefly Funhouse next, but it's actually cult leader Bray at his swamp, and he says that he created Braun, and that the Braun he created wants to come home. Bray also says that he knows that he must destroy Braun. Here we go. I was just rearranging where I've got this computer, because I'm even going to point it down a bit more. Just my legs were getting a bit sore from where it was sitting. Anyway, next is John Morrison with The Miz versus Braun Strowman. Before the match, Braun says that he is ready to walk into hell and slap the devil in the face, the devil being Bray Wyatt. Braun also says that he needs to destroy Bray so he doesn't turn into the Fiend. Braun then wins the match by pinfall after hitting the running power slam on Morrison. Morrison didn't get a move in, so it was pretty much a squash match. Post-match, I was going to say Bray, and I was going to say Braun. Braun says that he hopes Bray was watching because he's coming home. Miz calls for doctors and officials, and they come out with a bodyboard. Morrison refuses medical attention. As Miz and Morrison leave, Lacey Evans comes out. Then we get Lacey Evans versus Naomi. Before the match, Lacey gets on the mic and says that Naomi's glow will be nothing but a sparkle. Then they had an okay match, which in other words is a piss poor match. Lacey won by pinfall after hitting the women's right. Then we had a backstage interview with Jeff Hardy, and he says that he's willing to take the risk of walking into a bar with Sheamus. And you sort of got to think about that and go, did he walk into a bar or the bar? Although I guess it had to be a bar since he's with Sheamus, although maybe Sheamus has cloned himself. I don't know. I'm probably giving them ideas. Sheamus then brogue kicks Jeff and says that he can't run from him, and he also says that he'll see him on SmackDown next week, which is weird because I thought that they were going to have the bar fight at Extreme Rules, but apparently not. I don't know. And I know it was never confirmed that they're having the bar fight at Extreme Rules, but a lot of people thought that it was confirmed, but it wasn't. So I just figured they'd announce it today, but they're not. Oh, not today, but yesterday on SmackDown. But they're not. So I don't know. It's weird. Backstage interview with Bayley and Sasha, and Bayley says that she'll beat Nikki and Sasha will beat Asuka. Sasha says that it's their destiny to win all the gold. Nikki and Alexa saw what Bayley said, and Nikki says that she's worried that she will lose. Nikki then attacks Bayley, who walked to where the hell they were. I don't know, that's what it looked like. They sort of had Alexa and Nikki standing over here, and from about here, not even looking in that direction, come Bayley and Sasha. I don't know. Anyway, main event time, and it's AJ Styles defending the Intercontinental Championship against Matt Riddle. Really good match. Styles won by pinfall after stacking Riddle up when he reversed the Bro Mission. Post-match, Styles shakes Riddle's hand, but Corbin attacks Riddle and AJ leaves. We'll move on to 205 Live, and this week's 205 Live starts with Tahiti Miles vs Mansoor. And I was sitting there going, didn't this start last week's episode? Am I just watching last week's again? Then Drew Gulak and Vic Joseph were on commentary. And I'm like, no, because they weren't on commentary. Maybe they've put this match on, I don't know. Maybe they had Gulak and Joseph just go back over this match. I don't know. Turns out it is a different match and a different show and everything. It was a good match. Mansoor won with the one-winged Angel Murphy's Law combo thingy that he does. We then get the Legado del Fantasma video package that we got on NXT. Then we have a look at what's been happening between Swerve and Nice. Main event time, and it's Tony Nese versus Chase Parker with Matt Martel. Good match. Nese wins by pinfall after a spinning heel kick. Post-match, Everrise attacks Nese until Swerve comes down and runs Everrise off. Now, usually, this would be where I end the episode. But like I said, massive show today, or massive episode, not really a show. Because we have Impact Slammiversary, which was on just a couple of hours ago, at time of recording. So, first match to kick Slammiversary off is the Rascals versus a mystery team which was revealed to be the Motor City Machine Guns. And the Motor City Machine Guns defeat the Rascals. Then we get Moose defending the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against Tommy Dreamer in an old school rules match. Moose retained. After that, we had the gauntlet match to determine the number one contenders for the, number one contender for the Impact Knockouts Championship. There's a quick rule that every 2 minutes a new competitor comes out. And to start the match is Tasha Steelz and Kylie Ray. After that, Johnny Bravo comes out dressed as Taya Valkyrie, and he gets eliminated straight away. Then Kimberly comes in, then Kira Hogan comes in, Tasha Steelz then gets eliminated, and Susie comes in. Katie Forbes then comes in. Madison Rain then comes in. Havoc then comes in. The real Taya Valkyrie then comes in. Alicia Edwards then comes in. Then Nevaeh comes in. Rosemary comes in after that. Then Susie gets eliminated. And another Rosemary comes in. But it's Johnny Bravo again. Then Havoc and Bravo are eliminated. Madison Rain's then eliminated. Then Alicia Edwards and Nevaeh get eliminated. Kira Hogan's then eliminated, which gives us the final four of Kylie Ray, Kimberly, Taya Valkyrie, and Rosemary. The real version of Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary, not Johnny Bravo. Kimberly then gets eliminated. Rosemary is eliminated after that, making the final two Kylie Ray and Taya Valkyrie. Kylie Ray won. She is now the number one contender for the Knockout Women's Championship. We then got Willie Mack unsuccessfully defending the X Division Championship against Chris Bay. Then the North successfully defend the Impact Tag Team Championships against Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan. Jordan Grace then lost the Impact Knockouts Championship to Deonna Purrazzo. So we will get Purrazzo versus Kylie Ray at some point. Main event time, and it's for the vacant Impact World Championship, and it's between Eddie Edwards, Trey Miguel, Ace Austin, and he's accompanied by Madman Fulton, and a mystery competitor, which is revealed to be Rich Swann. Now, when I heard that it was Rich Swann, I went, I thought that was going to be someone special. But it's just Rich Swann. And I was like, yeah. But it's still Rich Swann, which is really cool. But then Eric Young returns and says, oh yeah, no, it's a fatal 5-way and it's now elimination as well. So, Young eliminates Trey Miguel first. Then Rich Swann eliminates Eric Young a bit further into the match. Ace Austin then eliminates Rich Swann after Eric Young attacked him with a chair because he was eliminated. And he attacked the forgotten the word now. The surgically repaired knee. That's what I was looking for. Of Rich Swann, and that allowed Ace Austin to eventually pin him. And that makes it 1-on-1 between Eddie Edwards versus Ace Austin with Madman Fulton for the World Championship. So one of them two was walking out with the title. In the end, it was Eddie Edwards who pinned Ace Austin to win the Impact World Championship. So that was that show. I didn't include all the other bullshit just because I haven't actually seen it. I've just, I just know what's happened. But here's also another note that here's everyone that returned during Slammiversary. So we had Eric Young, obviously. Heath Slater returned. Well, yeah, I don't think it's a return, but he showed up anyway. So we've had Eric Young, Heath Slater. Motor City Machine Guns returned, which is Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. EC3 returned. And then obviously Gallows and Anderson returned. Sort of. They announced that they were going to be there yesterday. At the time of recording, it was yesterday. So, yeah. We had some pretty big names. Most of them are from WWE when they did their whole big release thing 3 months ago. The only ones, it was only Motor City Machine Guns that weren't a part of that. So, yeah. And that's pretty cool. If them guys are something that you feel like you might want to watch Impact for, I would say go and watch it. I would like to watch it, but I don't really want to. Just because it's another hour or 2 hours or something. And then I'd have to cover that every week. So that's more wrestling to watch. And I already have a lot of wrestling to watch. So I won't. But I will definitely keep up with Impact like I normally do. Another thing is that they announced when the next pay-per-view is, which I believe was the 24th of October, so 25th here in Australia. So I've got a few months before we talk about Impact again, but I will be keeping an eye out just to see what's been happening. So, yeah. That's been it for this episode of the World of Wrestling podcast. I've been Slim. Goodbye and good night.